Hello, السلام عليكم.
Alaikum salam. How are you today, Ibrahim?
الحمد لله.
Good, good. And okay, so I think your classmate, she won't be here. I think no, I'm not sure, but I think she said she won't be here. But we can start without her, no problem.
Okay.
All right. So let's continue where we left. So the last thing we talked about, if you remember, was let me share the book. Okay. Yeah. So the last thing we were talking about was tourism, because the theme of the theme of this unit 3, is mainly about about tourism and travel, and So if you remember our last lesson, we finished number 1 and 2. We talked about some of the nice collocations or different verbs we can use to talk about travel, such as the verb, for example, travel light, travel on your own.
New vocabularies.
Yeah, vocabulary. This was basically different ways of talking about vocabulary. The same thing with get. For example, get into a car, get off a bus, get a package holiday. We also talked about go on a journey, go on a guided tour, and we used them also to talk about these examples. Number 2, where both of you talked about your travel experience, and so we finished this last lesson, number 1 and 2. All right, so now in number 3 here, we'll talk a little more about tourism, and we'll start with these sort of open questions. So the first question it asks you here, Ibrahim, it says, which places do guidebooks about your country recommend for tourists, and why? So imagine that you're reading a guidebook, okay? So this guidebook is for, of course, for tourists, right? So for tourists who have never been to Libya before, and now they're interested in visiting Libya, right? What places or which cities or what locations do you think would be included in this tour book or guidebook?
السرايا الحمراء, it's open.
Okay, so the Saraya Hamra restaurant, not restaurant, museum. Yeah.
Museum.
I'm always thinking
Libda.
Yes, Leptis Magna, yeah. The ruins in Libda, you're right.
Yeah.
What other places do you think would be highlighted in the Libya section, for example, of the book? The other places?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know.
What about do you know Gabran, the lake? Not lake. The oasis.
Yeah.
The oasis
in the desert. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this was, at least before 2011, it was a popular tourist destination. I knew a lot of, not a lot, but I knew some tourists who went there. Okay. So now the second question is, why do you think such places like the ones you named, or the ones we named, like the Saraya Hamra Museum and Leptis Magna, the ruins of Leptis Magna, in addition to this oasis in the desert, why do you think they should be included in the Libya section?
You mean why did we mention them? Because
yeah, exactly. Why do you think the book would mention these places or recommend them for tourists to visit? What's so special about them? Why?
Because they are interesting. Because for Libda, it's a city. I forgot the city. I think it's a historic city.
Okay, so it's a historical city or an ancient city, correct?
Saraya Hamra, it's a museum. It has a lot of things like Philadelphia's main, I don't know what's the word for it. Philadelphia's ship, the American ship.
Uh-huh.
Gabron because it's a lake in the middle of the desert, you can say.
Okay. What's the difference between an oasis and the lake?
Between what?
Do you know what we call lakes in the desert? They usually use a specific word for them.
No.
So they use this word. You might have seen this word. Oasis. Have you seen this word before? Oasis. Can you see it on this one? On
Oasis,
top?
yeah.
Yeah. So this is actually the right word they use, or the word that's used in English, to describe a body of water in the middle of the desert, right? Because it's probably not a lake, because usually lakes they're part of
bigger.
They're bigger.
Yeah.
That's true. And lakes are usually not in the desert, and also lakes usually they might be connected by a river or maybe mountains nearby where the mountains form sort of a barrier in front of wind and rain, so all the rain comes down to the lake. So usually it's a bit different, I think, but the name they use is oasis. So this is how would you translate oasis to Arabic?
عين يمكن.
That would be
عين ماء.
That would be spring. They call them spring. Spring water. Oasis in Arabic, it starts with the letter waw.
Wow.
What do you think it is in Arabic? There's also an oil company named after this. A Libyan oil company. Yes, that's it. Very good. So this is the meaning of oasis. Right? Yeah, so oasis is waha. Waha. All right. Anyways, yeah, I agree with you. I think these are interesting places. They're worth visiting. So yeah. What about you said in the Saraya Kamra there is something about the ship Philadelphia. You mean a part of the ship? You mean a part of the ship? What part is this? Can you describe it?
I don't know the English.
Okay, don't say it now. Just describe it.
العمود السرايا نفسه السرايا بتاع شنو اسمها سفينة فيلادلفيا.
Okay, just a second.
الشراع بتاعها.
Okay, just give me a second.
Okay.
Okay, correct. So are you talking about the sort of the cotton, or are you talking about the pole that
the pole?
The pole. Okay, so that's usually called in English, it's called a mast.
Yeah.
A mast, the mast of the ship. Mast. So this is where what the sails are connected to, because you've got the cloth which the wind pushes, right? So the cloth itself, because back then, of course, they didn't have engines like now. So ships used wind power. So the cloth itself is called you can call them the sails. So the sails are connected to the masts, and the masts are of course connected to
the ship.
To the ship, and the surface of the ship is called a deck. The deck of the ship.
Yeah.
So we have the deck of the ship. And we have the sails, we have the masts.
And the mast.
All right, okay. I think I can agree with you on your first answer. What about the second question here? It says, what are the advantages and disadvantages of using a guidebook in a new country? Have you used a guidebook before?
No, actually.
No, you haven't used them. Okay, now maybe guidebooks are not as popular as they used to because of the internet. Because now the internet, you don't really need a guidebook. All you can do is just Google the place you want to go to. If you're curious and you want to go to to Turkey, to Malta, to Istanbul, to Tunisia, wherever you want to go, just Google it, and usually you'll see information. And you know what's interesting? The guidebook that we are going to read about now, the one that's called Lonely Planet, they also have a very popular website as well. So now they've changed their service from guidebooks, not changed, I think they still publish guidebooks, but the website is working very well as too. This is the point. So I've actually used the Lonely Planet website before, but no problem. So you haven't used the guidebook before, but let's imagine you find the guidebook or you buy a guidebook, or maybe a friend gives you a guidebook to the place you're going to visit. Where would you like to visit? Where would you like to?
Spain.
Spain. You'd like to go to Spain. Which city in Spain would you like to go? Or is it just general and then you decide when you get there?
Yeah, I'm interested in the Islamic age.
All right, so you'd like to go to Andalusia, so it's the south of Spain.
Yeah.
All right, that's interesting. So let's say someone gives you a guidebook, and now you're flipping the pages and you're checking sort of the Islamic architecture and the old Islamic cities in Spain. Yeah. What do you think are the advantages of using this guidebook, and what are the disadvantages, in your opinion?
I think the advantage is it would tell you the most popular and most visited places, and the best things they think for you should do. Okay,
so so usually they will recommend the top things and the most popular things you should do. And okay, any other advantages you can think of? And what's the advantage of this, anyways? If they recommend the best places, the top places, what's the advantage of that?
For you or for them? I think for them because it's like I think
I think the advantages to you are more important here because you're the one who's using.
Because I don't. Yeah, I'm using it to help me. Okay, but yeah, I agree with you. Of course, it will help you when you know the popular places, but how would this serve you? I mean, in what way would it help you? I'm just trying to be a little specific here, try to juice you, to get you to talk. Okay, I have a better way to ask you this question. Some people are actually upset, not upset, but they don't like this very much when guidebooks recommend place A, B, C, and say this is the top place. Yeah, because it doesn't tells you everything about where you should go. It doesn't complete.
I agree with this. I agree on this.
It doesn't cover all the places you should go.
That's one thing. Yes, that's one problem. That when usually a guidebook limits instead of 10 places, of course, it cannot talk about all 10. So it will limit itself to the top 4 or 5, for example. So this means you don't have the complete picture of the city, let's say, right? So this is one disadvantage.
Yeah.
What other disadvantage do you think of using a guidebook in this way and following recommendations by guidebooks, even when they're right, by the way? I'm not saying that the guidebook is going to recommend a place that's not good. Of course, usually guidebooks, they're very careful and they only recommend the really good places. So there's no fear there. There's no problem. But what do you think the disadvantage is?
I don't know about the disadvantages, only that we said about doesn't cover all of things.
Okay, but what happens? Let's say you were going to southern Spain, and then we have another 100,000 tourists from China. They're also coming to southern Spain, and they're also using the same guidebook you're using.
So what's going to happen next?
Maybe they don't understand the language, because maybe mine's in Arabic.
No, they have each tourist has a copy which they can read. So if they're Chinese, they have the Chinese edition. You have the Arabic edition, and another 5,000 tourists from India, they have the Indian edition. They all have the same information. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
and they're all traveling around this. What time would you like to go to Spain? Winter, summer?
I don't know. I don't know the best time.
Choose a random time.
Yeah, I don't like I think every country has the tourist time where
the peak season, you mean? You're talking
about
the
peak season, yeah, because everything will be more expensive, so.
Okay, so you'll go on the off season. This is your point.
Yeah.
Okay, and the same tourists I was telling you about, they're smart like you, and they're going to do exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
So what happens next when you go and visit the recommended places in your guidebook? What do you expect will happen? Remember, I'll sorry?
Give me some information about the place.
Maybe? Yes, of course. It will give you information about the place. And let's say place A is the most recommended place to visit in Malaga, for example. You're going to Malaga in the south of Spain, okay? In southern Spain. So, so place A is the most recommended place in Malaga. So would you like to go to this place or not? I think you probably.
Yeah, I would like to go.
Yeah, of course, because it's the #1 spot in the city, right? So it's a must go, right?
Yeah.
And remember, the other 100,000 tourists I was telling you about, they've also read the same piece of information. They've also read that place A is the top spot in Malaga, right? And then remember, they're traveling in the same month as you are. So what's going to happen when you arrive there?
It's gonna be it's gonna make a traffic, maybe.
Exactly, that's the point. It's going to be very, very crowded.
Crowded.
Right? So there's a word they use in English, and I'd like you to tell me what you think this word means. You might have seen this word before. So they use it sometimes to describe places. They say it's too touristy. It's nice, but it's too touristy. What do you think? But do you think it's a positive adjective or a negative one when you say the place is too touristy? And remember, you're a tourist.
Yeah. Touristy, I think it's.
So I'll give you an example in context. So this way it might be easier for you.
This place is a touristy place, maybe.
No. For example, if I say, if someone asks me, "Have you been to Paris?" I'll say, "Yes, it's a beautiful city, but it's too touristy. It's too touristy." So what?
An adjective, maybe.
It's an adjective, but do you think is it a good adjective? Am I describing the place in a positive way or a negative way?
No, it's in a negative way.
Exactly. You're right. I'm trying to say this is not a good thing. This means everywhere I go in Paris, someone is trying to sell me something. Maybe someone's trying to sell me a brochure, maybe a little Eiffel Tower, maybe some postcards. And there are so many tourists. Whenever I want to do something, I find hundreds of tourists taking photos and a tour guide walking around. And do you understand? So this is the meaning of touristy, because this place is over recommended. It's over recommended on the tour guide. So you and the other 100,000 tourists are both going to go to this place. So you'll have crowds and crowds of tourists. Do you get the idea?
Yeah.
So this I think might be one of the biggest disadvantage of maybe using tour guides, because the places they're going to recommend are usually the same everywhere around the world. So everybody's going to go to these places. It will be usually crowded. maybe more expensive, maybe a little bit touristy. So I think this is one major disadvantage. At least in my opinion, this is what I think.
Yeah.
Okay, the third question. Have you ever taken a guidebook on holiday?
No.
No, okay. Imagine you have. Imagine you're now in Malaga or one of the cities in southern Spain, maybe Valencia or I'm not sure which other cities. I haven't been to southern Spain. I've been to Barcelona and Madrid, but they're not part of sort of the historical kind of Islamic Spain. Anyways, let's imagine you're taking this trip and you're taking your guidebook with you. Do you think it would be useful?
Yes.
Okay. How do you think it would be useful?
Just like we said, it give me information.
Okay, so it will help you deciding where to go, for example.
Yeah, and give me some information about the place I'm going to. Maybe I'm going to the castle. Give me when they built it, who was in charge at the time, what happened, maybe.
Right. So maybe a little bit of history and a little bit of information before you go, so you know. All right. Okay.
What should I do? What should I don't? Because culture.
Yeah, culture is important, right? Cultural differences. Yeah. Maybe some things are not allowed in the place. Yeah, I think that's true. All right, okay. So now what we're going to do is we are going to read an article now. And what I'd like you to do is I want you to match these 5 headings. Can you see the 5 headings in question B? Can you read them?
Okay. A romantic adventure. 2, online on TV and on your phone. 3, guidebooks for the planet. 4, how to understand the world. 5, their first bestseller.
All right, so these are headings that we want to use for the paragraphs we have in the reading article here. The world's greatest travelers, okay? So this means for each paragraph, there's a suitable heading from the part you've just read now, okay? So this means maybe it would be a good idea to read the article first and then decide which one you want to use, which of the 5 headings, okay? So let me zoom out a little bit and let's see if I can make you see the whole thing together. Okay, now it's a little smaller, I know, but at least you can zoom with your phone, I think. Can you zoom with your phone?
I opened the PDF, so.
Okay, so you have. Is it easier for you to do this, or?
Yeah, I don't know what you pointing with your mouse, but I can hear you and open and read the PDF at the same time.
Okay, because sometimes I write things on the screen with the keyboard, or so I'm not sure.
I will check sometimes. I mean, when I hear you typing, I will check what you.
Okay. All right. Okay. So if you're on the PDF, so it won't make much difference. Okay. So let me tell you what you need to do. So I'd like you to read this article. Okay. And after you read it, tell me which headings do you think are suitable for each paragraph. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So take a few minutes. Take your time to read this, and then we can sort of do this part.
Should I read it in loud or?
No, you don't have to read it aloud. No, you can just read it normally. You don't have to read it aloud.
Okay.
Okay, because it's more of a comprehension than pronunciation exercise. So they want you to understand rather than pronounce.
paragraph A, I think it's number 5, the first bestseller.
Okay, I think it's a better idea for these kind of
Or
questions.
guides, books.
Okay, Brahim, I think for this kind of question, it's always better to read all the paragraphs, because sometimes
Okay.
you might need to change the information.
Okay.
So check them first, and then it'll be easier for you to decide after you check all of them. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. For number 1, it's a romantic
What is number 1?
adventure.
A romantic adventure, number 1.
I
So
think.
you mean for A, you're.
It started. The story began when Tony and Maureen met on park bench, London, 1971.
Okay, so a romantic adventure. Which paragraph do you want to do for romantic?
B, because they talked about their honeymoon and what happened.
Okay, correct. Mm-hmm.
And number 2, online, on TV and on your phone. Mm-hmm. I think D, because they had their television company.
Uh-huh.
And number 3, guidebooks for the planet. I think C.
Why do you think it's C?
Because they talked about with money. Just one second.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 5, the first bestseller. It's C.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because they because it said the book has been the best seller since it was published in 1973.
You're right. Yes, correct. But is it the first book they published?
No, it's the second. Because the first one wasn't the best seller.
You're right.
Guidebooks for the planet.
You're doing now. Which one are you doing?
I have right now. I didn't do number 3 and number 4.
Okay.
And I have paragraph D and paragraph E. So publish it in a sense. Again, number 3 is number D, paragraph D.
You
and
mean
number 4 is paragraph E.
Okay, so number 3, guidebooks for the planet. This is C or D? This is D.
Paragraph D. D.
Okay. And how to understand the
number
world?
4, paragraph A.
Paragraph A?
Because it's the last. No, A. The Nash A. Ooh. Just 1 minute. I forget about number paragraph A.
Okay.
غريبة. romantic حطيناها online TV حطيناها للدي. Guidebooks for the planet. Guidebooks for the planet. It's number paragraph D. For how to understand the world, it's paragraph A.
Why is it paragraph A?
Because the company has been publishing guidebooks for 40 years and sells over 5 million books a year in English.
Okay.
So they have a lot of versions of the book in different languages.
Okay, but it says nothing about understanding the world, right? How many paragraphs are in this article?
5.
Okay. Did you read all 5 of them?
Yeah.
Okay, but
I'm a little bit confusing because I'm not sure about them.
All right, let me tell you the ones which were correct. Okay, a romantic adventure is correct.
Yeah, it's B.
It's
okay.
Yeah, it's B. Okay. Then online, on TV, and on your phone. Which one is this? Did you say?
D.
Okay, this is also correct. Yeah. So this is the different media they have. Correct. And then it says guidebooks for the planet. What did you say? Guidebooks for the planet.
A.
Okay, now you're right. This is better for A, right?
Yeah.
Guidebooks for the planet. A is correct. And what about number 4? How to understand the world?
E. The company has a long way since. Because yeah, best way to people understand the word. Yeah, it's the last sentence.
Exactly. So this is 4. E is 4. And 5, your answer was correct too, number 5, when you said C is the right part. Now, this question is quite important. Do you know why? Why is it important?
Why?
Because this kind of question is similar to questions you find in formal exams, like IELTS or TOEFL.
You mean what did you get from the informations and information in the paragraph. And he استنتجت what the conclusion, I think.
Correct.
Right
And because in these kinds of questions, your answer has to be based on information in the paragraph. You can't put ideas on your own in the paragraph. You get the idea? It has to be based on something in the paragraph. So these questions are sort of specific. So when you said the first time when you chose number 4 for paragraph A, you said because it's in English and many people read it, so this has helped. But this is your understanding. This is not what the writer of the article said. Do you get the idea? And these questions are not based on your understanding of what's written. It's based on the writer's understanding or the writer's opinion. So whenever you're doing reading, be careful not to put your own opinion or put your own words or own ideas. Or maybe you have background information about this. Maybe your information is right. I'm not saying it's wrong, but it's not relevant to the text. It has to be relevant to the text. Do you get the idea? All right, okay. Now, the next section, we also have a number of questions here. It says, can you read the section 4 here, please? What does it say?
Read the article again, answer these questions. 1. How long has Lonely Plants been publishing guidebooks? 2. What did Tony and Maureen do on their honeymoon? 3. Where did they write their second guidebook? 4. How many books has Lonely Planet published? 5. What is the thorn tree? 6. What else do Lonely Plants do? All
right, so we need to find out about these answers from the article. I think you can answer some of them without having to read, but let's start with the first
number one. Since 1971.
Okay, so how long is this?
29, almost 50 years.
Okay, you can say for almost 50 years, right? Or if you want to be specific, for 23, it will be 50. So 17, 40, 47. Is it 47? No, 47 years.
No.
For 47 years, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, for 47 years. Okay. Number 2. What did Tony and Maureen do on their honeymoon?
49.
Is it 49?
Yeah, because it's 71.
73.
No, 1.
Ah, you mean yeah.
Oh, no. I was wrong. They met in 71.
Yeah.
And
I was basing it on the second book. All right, okay. And what did they do on their honeymoon?
Traveling across Asia and Europe. They traveled Europe and Asia and Australia in an old van.
Okay. So they used an old van to travel to Australia, right?
It was a long car journey.
Yeah, that's true. So what did they do? They traveled across Europe and Asia to Australia. What do you think of a trip like this?
Number 3. Where are the notes?
So where did they write this?
They wrote in Southeast Asia.
But it's in a specific place.
Singapore.
Yes. So they wrote it actually in a specific place in Singapore.
Yeah.
Where?
In a hotel room.
Yes, this is the answer. In a Singapore hotel room. Okay. Okay. Good. How many books has Lonely
Planet
published?
Over 6 published. Okay. مجمل. It has been publishing guidebooks for 40 years, and it sells over 5 million books a year in English. Because they sold a lot of books,
What's the difference? What's the difference between selling a book and publishing a book? Is there a difference?
What? Telling?
Selling. Between selling a book and publishing a book.
Selling a book and publishing. كيف يعني? It's like when you made a book, it's before selling, I mean.
Okay, correct. Publishing is before selling. You're right.
It happens before.
Okay, but how can you walk me through the steps of selling a book? What happens before you get a book sold?
After the factory makes the book,
okay,
and they put it in the store, it has been published. It's been published.
Correct. And usually, where are books made?
And when the customer comes and buys the book, it's being sold.
Okay, correct. The last part, you're right. So when the customer buys the book from a bookstore, this is the selling part, right?
Yeah.
This means they've got 1 copy sold because a customer bought 1 copy. If 10 customers come in and each one buys a copy, now we've sold 10 copies, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now another question: how are books made? What do we call the place that makes books? Is it a factory?
Maybe, yeah.
Are you sure about that?
Because
maybe the paper, the paper itself comes from a paper factory, but after the paper is made or after the paper is manufactured, what's the second step? What happens to this blank paper?
Publishers.
What do publishers do?
Publish books.
Okay, but what is publishing books? What does it mean in English when we say? Let's say you wrote a book now. Okay, let's say Ibrahim. You're going to write a book about your travel or your trip to southern Spain. Okay, so just like Tony and Maureen, you're going to write a book. Let's say you finished writing the book and it has all the information you need and everything. What's your next step? What are you going to do? The first thing you should do after you write a book?
Publish it.
Who's going to publish it? How is it going to be published? And what does publish mean? Do you take your written copy and take it to a bookstore?
No, you need to keep the original.
Okay, so you make a copy, and what do you do with the copy? Do you take it to a bookstore?
Yeah, to a bookstore, so they publish it. So they say it's a new book. You go to يعني تدير له دعاية. هربت مني الكلمة لكن مش له دعاية.
Okay, not exactly, no. There's a step missing. There's a step called the publishing step, the publisher. The publisher is the person who's going to take your book and going to write it, print it on paper, all right? And this company will pay you a percentage of the profits they make. So if they sell 1 million copies, of course the publisher, because they're the one printing, they print the book and they cover it and they put it in bookstores, right? And so they bring the money and you take maybe a percentage, 10% of all sales, 20, I don't know what publishers pay to. It depends. It depends on the agreement. And they pay you, the writer, and then they keep selling copies. And the more copies they sell, of course, the more money the publisher makes, and the bigger your percentage, right?
Yeah.
So now this question here, but is every published book, is it sold? I mean, is it sold in large numbers, every published book?
I don't know.
Not necessarily. Maybe your book, it gets published, so a publisher takes it and agrees to print it, but it only sells 1,000 copies. So yeah, it's not very good for business. Maybe it took you a long time to write it, and 1,000 copies, and you'll get maybe only 20%. So you'll only get maybe $200, not a lot, for example. If the book is $1, of course, but let's say it's $10. So the publisher made 10,000 dinars, and you made 200. Not 200, 2,000 if you have 20%, right?
Yeah.
But the question here, number 2, is it about number 3? I mean, sorry, 4. How many books has Lonely Planet published? Are we asking about the number of books they sold or the number of books they published?
They published.
Correct. And what's the answer to this?
$650 books.
That's it.
Since they began.
Yes, since the company began, they have sold published 650 different books. All right. Okay. And what is the thorn tree? What's this?
Only website every month. Website.
Does it say website?
The Lonely Planet website is visited by 5,000 people every month, and their internet forum called Thorn Tree.
So? So what is it? If it's not a website, what is it?
I don't know. Tree.
you just read it.
The internet forum?
That's it. It's an internet forum. What's the difference between an internet forum and a website? Is there a difference?
The website, it's a website, but an internet forum, it's first time.
Okay. So it's a new word. Internet forum is it's a bit like it's like a club where people meet and ask and answer questions. It's not a chat room, but there are
Reddit.
Like Reddit. Reddit is a forum, an example of a forum, a website or a forum application. So someone posts something, then people can comment, or someone has a question.
Help them,
help them. Or the other one, Quora, whatever it's called. It's also a kind of forum where someone has a problem. So someone says, how do I use present perfect continuous? And then you can see all kinds of comments from students, from teachers, from natives, from non-native, right? So you get an answer to your question. This is what the Thorn Tree is. It's also an internet forum. And what is it about? Can you tell me what kind of internet forum is it? For what? What can you get there? What can you ask and learn in this forum?
Get an advice on traveling independently.
Exactly. What does it mean, travel independently in English?
Traveling alone.
Yes, exactly. On your own, correct. Very good, very nice. Now, the last question, what else does Lonely Planet do? What else do they do?
A television company. Make television, making programs on TV.
And?
They have a monthly magazine. And they have app for phones.
Right. So they have everything. They have the books. They have a television company.
The website.
The forum on the website. They have apps. They have a magazine, a monthly magazine. So how successful do you think this company is?
They are successful.
Yeah, I agree with you.
They are they are very successful.
It looks like they're doing very, very well.
Yeah, because they
yeah, they've been doing everything, and they've been working. They've been working since 1971, if we want to consider their meeting as the start of
the
their
first
company.
time they published the first book, because they didn't say specific time when they published it, so we can.
Yeah, we can assume, we can say it's 1971 because maybe it's around that time.
Yeah, since 71 to 73.
Yeah, but do they still publish now?
I don't think so, because not many, everybody, they are on their phones, so I don't think they make more copies of books. But this is my opinion, but I don't know.
I think your opinion makes sense. But check the first paragraph. What does it say? In paragraph A.
Yeah, nobody knows. They say they still publish books.
And they still sell books, right? Which is even
more important. Yeah.
Yeah, more important, because if you publish and you can't sell, it's a problem. But their books seem to be, they're still popular even in the age of internet. People are still buying the books, right? All right, very, very interesting. Okay, so let's move on. Let's talk a little more about, I think we have some grammar here. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the present perfect continuous and the present perfect simple. Okay. Now, the present perfect simple is what we were talking about in the previous lessons. Okay. So when you say, for example, I have been to Italy. I've been to Italy. I've been to Italy. This is a normal, regular, positive, present perfect simple. I have been to Italy. Or even in the negative, I haven't been to Italy. Yeah. Now with the present perfect continuous, it's a little different. So you should have sentences similar to the ones in bold that we just talked about here in the article. Like, the company has been publishing books.
Okay.
For 40 years. Do you see this form? Has been publishing. So you have the have or the has. Then you have
continuous. The ing.
The past, but the ing is the third part.
Oh.
Right. So the ing here this is instead of the past participle, because if you use the past participle, you could say the company has published guidebooks, right? Has published. But here we used has been publishing, right?
Yes.
So there's a bit of a change, like you said. There's this ing part, this continuous part, right?
Yeah.
Or you can say, I've been studying English since 2002 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I have been studying. So we have this continuous. So this is what makes the present perfect continuous a little different from the present perfect simple, the one we used in our last lesson. So there is a bit of a, of course, a bit of a difference. So let's go to the questions and let's see part by part some of the rules, and let's try to guess. So here in number 5, it says, look at sentences 1 and 2 in the article. So they want us to look at the sentence 1 and 2, the bold ones. Okay, so the first one is the one I was reading earlier, which is the company has been publishing guidebooks for 40 years. So this is number 1. Number 2, the book has been a bestseller since it was published in 1973. Okay, so these are the 2 sentences they wanted us to read. Let's see what they want to know about them. It says here, fill in the gaps in these rules with the present perfect continuous, PPC, if you want to use present perfect continuous, or present perfect simple. So you need to choose which one is more suitable for each rule. So can you read the first rule and then tell me which one do you think is more suitable for this?
We use that to talk about an activity that started in the past and it's continued within the present.
Okay, so don't answer yet. Check the other one.
Okay.
And see first.
We use to talk about the state that started in the past and continues in the present. Oh.
Okay, so this means maybe you need to go back to sentence 1 and 2 in the bold. This means one of these is an activity and one of them is a state.
Okay.
Which one do you think is the activity? Which one do you think is the state? Sentence 1 or 2? And why?
The activity, I think, is sentence 1 because they are still doing they're still publishing books till the moment. But sentence 2, it has been the bestseller. It's a state because the book was published.
You're right.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think this is the right answer. Yes. So the first one is more about the activity, and the second one is more about the state. So this means, like you said, PPC or the present perfect continuous. I think we should fit it in the first rule. This is the one we can use to talk about an activity, right? This means the second one, the one about state, we can use the present perfect simple.
Simple, yeah.
All right, so this is our first part in the rules or in the questions. Now let's check part B. So here in part B, it's a bit of a form question. They just want you to write the correct form of the present perfect simple and continuous. So let's check it. So what does it say here? It says fill in the gaps with, you just need to use have, haven't, has, hasn't. You need to use been or verb plus ing. Okay. So here they want you to use all of these words to complete the form of present perfect continuous. Okay. Of course, the present perfect continuous. Think of an example like they have been publishing.
Okay.
So this is a classical example we can use to fill it to finish this exercise. All right.
Yeah. هي اللي has. The first gap has.
Okay, but how did they start? How do you start?
No. Continuous. Are you, we, they, or have? Yeah. Had, has. It has. Sharp.
Okay, so I'm going to write our example. They have been publishing. Let's write it. They
okay.
have been publishing since what?
Good night is 1971.
Publishing since, actually the second part of the sentence, don't need it now. So let's just use this, okay? So they have been publishing. This is an example of a sentence with using the present perfect continuous. So what are the parts of this sentence? So we can see the subject, which is they. Then we used have.
Helping verb, yeah.
Yeah, the auxiliary, exactly. Then we used been. Then we used verb plus ing.
Ing.
Right?
Okay.
So, but we don't need to use the full have. We can just say if, yeah, the one in the option, the first one. I'm going to circle it for you. So we don't have to say have. We can just say if, right?
Okay.
So I can say they've been publishing, or we've been publishing, I've been publishing, you've been publishing. It's the same for these four subjects. For these four subject pronouns, it's the same, right? It's the same V. They've, we've, you've, I've. Isn't that correct? So this means we can just write they've, or have. So here, this is optional. You can use the short form, the they have, the they've, or the. Do you see? These are optional.
Yeah.
If you want to use,
I get it. Yeah.
If you want to use the I've, fine. If you don't want to use it and use the full one, like the example we had in the article, they have been publishing, that's fine too. Do you get the idea? And then we use been, which is a fixed part of the sentence. Then we used verb, then we used ing. Now we have...
Okay, yeah, I get it now, yeah.
Okay, so this means now we have a complete example. This is done. Now, I want you to do the same thing for he, she, it. But instead, there's a small change.
Apostrophe S.
That's right. Apostrophe S. So we have the short form of has. So we use the apostrophe S. Or I can say has. I don't have to, but it's up to me. So I can say he's been, she's been, it's been. Or he has been, she has been, it has been. Right? And after that,
then,
I use
verb ing.
Exactly right. So let's cross the things we've used from the list they gave us. Okay. So they've wanted us to use the if, and we did that. They've wanted us to use the verb ing, not the verb ing, and you've just used it now.
Yeah.
And they wanted us to use the is, and you've just used it too. Okay. So let's write the verb plus ing. Verb plus ing. Okay, good. Now let's move to the negative part. Now the negative is exactly the same, except for?
Yeah. And as a negative, we are going to use not. Because,
exactly. All right, so we use...
the first one, it haven't, I mean.
Exactly, yes. And so this means we've used
the
haven't.
second one,
Let's remove haven't from the list, and let's write it. So they haven't been, I haven't been, you haven't been, we haven't been. And then we use the verb plus ing. Good. What about when we use he, she, or it?
Hasn't plus been.
Right. Correct. So we are going to use the hasn't, and this way we've used all the words they have given us. So it hasn't been, she hasn't been, he hasn't been. Okay. Okay, so this is just like I told you, it's just an exercise that shows you the form, right? So the form, it just means how a question or how a grammatical tense or structure is made. That's all, right? So they just want you to know how to make it. All right, is it clear? Yeah. Is it clear now?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is how you put the parts. This is how you build. This is how you build present perfect continuous in the positive or the negative, okay? Now, moving on, we have another 2 rules. All right, so can you read the first rule and tell me what you think? Of course, here you need to choose between present perfect continuous or present perfect simple to decide. Maybe it's a better idea. Maybe it's a better idea to read both rules and think a little bit about it.
We usually use the present perfect continuous or simple to say how long an activity has been happening. We usually use present perfect continuous or simple to say how many things are finished.
Okay, before you answer, I'd like you to check the bold sentences in the article number 3 and 4 this time. Yeah, because we checked 1 and 2 to finish the first rules. Now check 3 and 4. Check the last 2 sentences. Check 3 and 4. The bold ones.
Okay, 3. It's how many things we are finished because they published. And sentence number 3 says Lonely Planet has published over 650 books since the company begun, I think. Number 4, it says how long, because they said since 2004.
Okay.
But which one is one?
So, to talk about how long, which one do you want to use?
I think how long, I think it's continuous because they are still making TV shows, I think.
Okay. So this is number 3 or 4, the examples. Which one is it?
4. And we use how many. It's example number 3, sentence number 3. And it's just not simple.
Can you read them again, please? Number 3 and 4.
Number 3, it says Lonely Planet has published over 650 books since the company began.
You're right about this.
Number 4, their television company, Lonely Planet TV, has been making programs since 2004.
Okay, so here, this is another major difference between the present perfect simple and the continuous, right? With the continuous, just like you said, there's more emphasis on time. Yeah? So they're trying to they're paying more attention to how long the activity has been going, correct? So length of time maybe is more important in the continuous than in the simple. So in the simple, maybe you can describe it for things you've done. So so if you say, I've been to Italy twice, present simple, present perfect simple, here you've showed us the number of times, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so until now we have sort of two major differences between the present perfect simple and present perfect continuous. Let me just remind you of the first ones. We usually talk when we said state and activity, remember? The first difference, rule 1 and 2. When we said that for states, if you want to talk about a state, it's better to use the present perfect. Which one? Is it simple or continuous for states?
Yes. States. About the it starts.
State is exercise A.
Yes, simple.
Yes, the present perfect simple is better for states, and the present perfect continuous. This means this is better for activities. Right, right. Okay, now part D. Here it says look at questions 1 and 4 in exercise 4. So let's go back to question 1 and 4 again. So 1 and 4 in exercise 4. So can you read them? Question 1 and 4 in exercise 4.
How long? 1 to 4.
No, just 1 and 4. Is it 1 to 4 or 1 and 4?
Just let me check.
1 and 4. So these two, just read these two.
Okay. How long has Lonely Planet been publishing guidebooks? For how many books has been Lonely Planet published?
Can you read number 4 again?
How long has Lonely Planet been publishing guidebooks? This is present perfect continuous.
Correct.
And the second, for how many books has Lonely Planet published? It's simple.
Okay, so you got this part right. Present perfect simple. You've got that part right. Now the question is, you've identified them. They didn't ask you to identify them, but you've done that. No, you've done it correctly. Now, the second thing they want you to do is, how do we make present perfect continuous questions with how long? And how do we make present perfect simple questions with how many? So when we say how do we make, they want you to answer like in part B. Do you see the form question here? They want you to do the same thing. So this means you will start with how many or how long, and you're going to make a present perfect continuous question with how long, and then you're going to make a present perfect simple question with how many.
Okay.
Let's start with the how long. Of course, you can use exactly the same example you were reading from question 4.
Yeah.
But of course, you have to change. You shouldn't give me the same word. You have to say have plus, right? But you can use it. You can use it to model your answer. This is the point.
How long?
So we start with how long.
Has Tony and Maureen married?
So we say how long plus the helping verb, the auxiliary verb, has or have. Has or have. In the example you're reading, it's has, but it's not always has. What if I'm talking about you? I'll say how long has you? Is that I have to say have, right?
Yeah.
So we need to write both of them. Have or has plus
been.
Plus you forgot something.
Subject.
Yes, the subject. So how long has you sorry, has he, has she, has it, or how long have you, I, they, we, right? Then we need the verb. No, not the verb. What's after the subject? I can't hear you. I think your voice is too low. Correct. Did you change your mic?
No.
I can't hear you anymore. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, your voice is too far away.
Yeah?
It's still far away.
Just let me check the internet. Okay?
All right. I can hear you, but it's just too far away. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It was clearer 5 minutes ago. Anyways, you can continue, okay? So we use how long plus has or have plus the subject plus been.
Verb.
Okay.
Plus ing.
Yes. Correct. So verb plus ing and question mark. Okay. So you've just made, congratulations, you've just made a question, present perfect continuous question with how long, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, very nice. Now you're going to do the same thing for present perfect simple. And you're going to start your question with how many. And you can model it on one of the questions you have in the article, no problem. I can't hear you, Brian. Hello?
Okay, yeah. Just I'm looking for a question.
Now you're back. Your voice is back to normal.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. So you need to look for the how many question in the article. What is the how many question they have? Not in
how
the article,
many books do they sell in English language?
No, this is what kind of question is this?
هذا في الباراجراف A.
Yeah, but what type of grammar is used in this question? What grammatical structure or form is used here?
ماشي لخبطت دقيقة نمشي بالقانون. How many have has Lonely Planet been selling in English language? Is it right?
Okay, can you look at question 4 in number 4 in question 4?
How many books has Lonely Planet published?
Correct. So we use how many?
Yeah.
Plus books, which is
subject.
Is it subject?
No, subject. No, that's not the subject.
How many?
Subject, it's the Lonely Planet, but
yeah, I think it's a plural noun, right?
Yeah.
So because with how many, you of course need plural noun. How many cars? How many?
Yeah.
How many books? How many cups? How many phones? How many classes? So if I want to use a question like how many classes have you taken? Or how many levels have you finished? Right? So this is a present perfect simple question with how many. So this means maybe we need to use a plural noun. So plural noun. Then
hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. How many what? How many books? How many cars?
Yeah. Plus has or have.
Right. So he has has or have, then
subject.
Correct. Then
verb in the past.
Is it in the past?
Simple.
Are you sure? Can I say
present perfect, past participle, maybe?
It's not a maybe. Know. It's not a maybe question. It's
I'm not sure.
It's a definite question. So there are no place for maybes. Let's go part by part. So if I say how many books or how many places have you went to? Is this correct?
How many?
How many places have you went to? Is this correct?
Been, I think.
Yes. And been, is it the past simple or is it the past participle? It's an experience question. So should we use the past participle or should we use just the past form?
Past participle.
Right. So we have to use the past participle verb form, right? If you're going to use, keep this as a golden rule. Whenever you're using the perfect tense, any perfect tense, future perfect, past perfect, even the perfects we haven't studied yet, by the way, past perfect continuous, right? Future perfect continuous, whatever. You need to always use the past participle. The past participle is made for the perfect tense. You get the idea? You cannot use you cannot use the regular past form like went or was or it's not allowed in the perfect tense. You have to use been, you have to use eaten, written, ridden, spoken, right? You need to use these past participle verb forms. All right, now let's confirm all of this, the stuff we've been talking about, this sort of summary of the present perfect continuous and present perfect simple and the main differences between them. So let's go to page 134. Let's see all of this together in one summary, and maybe you can find more information. And if we have any mistakes, we can confirm them. 134. 134. Okay, this is an excellent summary because it explains in detail some of the things you need to keep in mind. We're talking about the present perfect or the present continuous. All right, would you like to read the first tip, please?
We usually use the present perfect continuous to talk about an activity that started in the past and continues in the present. For example, the company has been publishing guidebooks for 40 years.
Do you see the timeline? Do you see how they? It sort of makes it a lot easier to understand, right? So the starting point, you can see the past is on your left, and the future and the present is on your right side, right? So you can see the 40 years ago. This is when it started. Right? So this is the starting point of the action, and the action, which is publishing, is still going on until now. It hasn't stopped.
So we used for past perfect present perfect continuous and since for present perfect simple.
But you can switch them. You can easily switch them because since and for are used also in the present perfect simple. You can use them normally. So you can say I've been studying English. Instead of saying for since 2002, I can say for 20 years, 18 years. Right?
Okay.
So here this don't it's not they're used in both. Since and for are used in both.
Okay. Should I read the next one?
Go ahead. Read the next one.
Okay. We usually use the present perfect simple to talk about a state that started in the past and continues in the present. For example, the book has been a bestseller since it was published in 1937. 73.
So the same story, but it's not an activity, it's a state. Right? So it's been the bestseller since then. It still is the bestseller until today. Do you get the idea?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Now, take a look at this tip. This tip is very nice. Can you read the first tip?
We often use the present perfect continuous with verbs that talk about longer activities, like just like learn, rain, try, play, work, wait. What did you say? I have been learning English for 5 years.
So they're trying to tell you that here, because sometimes in some situations, both verbs are, you can use both situations, right? So you can say, I've been learning English for 5 years, or I've learned English for 5 years. But I've been learning is better, because learning is sort of a longer action, right? You're trying to emphasize length. You're trying to tell us for how long you've been doing this. Do you get the idea? So the tip here is, they're telling you, if you feel like talking about longer activities, first of all, you need to use the present perfect continuous, and you need to choose verbs which convey length. Learn, rain, because when it rains, it's not a one-time action. It's going to keep raining for at least a few minutes, right? The same thing with try. Try, you don't, when you try something, it's not like, I've tried, finished. No, you keep on.
Continue.
You keep on trying until you get it done, right? Playing, the same thing. It's not a one-time activity. It's a long activity. Work, read, wait. So this is what the tip is basically telling you. Choose a verb which conveys length and continuity. A verb which has a continuous feel to it is a better verb to use with the present perfect continuous, right? Now check the second tip, which is the opposite of the first tip.
We don't usually use the present perfect continuous with verbs that talk about the short actions. Start, find, lose, break by, stop. Example, I have started a course, not I have been starting a course.
Right? This also feels sort of like right? It's a kind of obvious point, but it's also very important. Here, if you want to use the present perfect continuous, maybe it's not a good idea to use short verbs or verbs which have a short feeling to them. Start, finish, these are one cutoff. It's a one-time action. You don't keep starting. You just start something. You just start a car. You're not going to be to be doing it for half an hour unless there's a problem with the car. But if it's a normal car, you just start. It's on. You switch. The same thing with switch on, switch off, right? So you can say I've switched on my computer. Actually, with switch, maybe it's better to just use the past simple. Just say I switched on. Anyway, so they're telling you if you want to use the present continuous, don't use short verbs. Now, the third point is the one that I was telling you about, where you can use sort of both, right? Take a look at the third tip.
With some verbs, both verbs forms are possible. I have been living here for 5 years. He's working in Australia since 2011.
All right, now here's a little technical question, okay? I'm going to be a little grammar Nazi now, and I'm going to ask you a question. Do you know the grammar Nazi question, jokes, right? Do you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so so I like playing the grammar Nazi sometimes. Okay, but now this is like I said, it's just a technical extra question, but it's just for the fun of it. Now, let's use the same examples they've given us here. So he worked, he's worked, sorry, because it's present perfect. So he has worked in, where is it? In Australia since 2011. Yeah, since 2011. So he's worked in Australia since 2011. So this would be correct according to the rule, right? And also if we said he's been working in Australia, this would be, I mean, correct too, right? There's nothing wrong with this according to the rule. He's been working in Australia since 2011. Now, I'd like you to think about, is there a difference between these two sentences? And if there is, in your opinion, what is it? And I'm going to write the other one.
In the first sentence, second sentence, and he has been working.
Okay.
You mean دقيقة صوت شنو؟ أنت قاعد تصل فيها.
Is there a difference between the first and the second sentence?
Yeah. And the second sentence, he's still working.
Okay.
He didn't lost his job or quit.
Okay.
But in the first sentence, he doesn't work in Australia at the moment.
Okay. I'll tell you just a second. Okay, what about the second two? I have an idea, okay? I'm going to leave for a few seconds and I'll be back. But I'd like you to use this time. If you want, you can even Google it, okay?
Okay.
So I'd like you to see or to tell me if you think there's a difference or not between these two examples. So take about 2 or 3 minutes. I'll be back, but I'm going to leave you some time to think of this, okay? And you can also Google it if you want to. Just Google it.
Yeah,
you might be surprised.
I have an answer right now.
Okay.
Actually.
Okay, but think about it. I'll be back in a second, okay? All right.
Okay.
Hi, are you there?
Yes, I am back. You are back.
All right, so what do you think?
Okay. دقيقة بس أطلع. طلعت لك أنت حاجة كيف فوق البوكس.
What do you mean?
The blue line, I mean.
Okay, which blue line? Are you talking about?
هيك
طلعت صح.
كمان طلع لك.
طالع المعنى.
اوكي نحسبهاش يطلع مرة واحدة.
No, يطلع because you can also write on the screen. It's like a shared screen. يطلع. All right, so what do you think?
ما نعرفش how I lived in Australia for 5 years, just like it says I have lived in there for some time.
Okay.
It said Yani stopped living there, and he's I have been living in Australia for 5 years. It means I'm still living. At the moment, and the action is still going on.
Okay.
If you get what I mean.
Correct. But even if you say I've lived in Australia for 5 years, it could also mean that the action is still going on. It means you're still living, right? Because if you use the present perfect, this is something that's still going on. Here, when you say I've lived in Australia for 5 years, I've lived.
Mm-hmm.
It's you're still living there too. Do you know the difference? The difference is so small. It's not really important, to be honest.
I don't think so.
No, there is a small difference, but it's not really very important. The only difference is emphasis. Okay, because when you say, for example, he's been working in Australia since 2009 and 11. So here, do you know what we're emphasizing? We're emphasizing time. We're emphasizing how long he's been doing this action.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I want the listener to get from my sentence. I'm trying to tell him that this person has been doing the action for a long time. He's experienced. Do you get the idea? But with the first one, the emphasis is...
Sorry, the connection comes and goes. So
okay.
Now,
can you hear me now?
Yeah. مرة تتشوش لأنه ما فهمتش علاش.
Okay, is it okay now or is it still?
Yeah, for now it's okay.
All right. So the question was, the point was, when you say he's been working in Australia since 2011, the emphasis or the thing I'm focusing on is the length of time. Okay?
Okay.
I'm trying to convey the meaning to you. The meaning I'm trying to convey is that this thing has been going on for a long time. I want to emphasize length. Do you understand? But with the first one, he's worked in Australia since 2011. Here, I'm not emphasizing time as much as the action itself, work itself. I'm just telling you what he's done since 2011.
Mm-hmm.
So you can say he's lived, he's played, so what has he done since he's worked. So I'm emphasizing the action more than the duration. So with the present perfect continuous, duration is more important.
هي الفقرة هذه ما نسمعش فيك مشوشة.
Duration, can you hear me now? Is it clear now? Hello. Ibrahim, can you hear me?
No, كان مشوش قاعد.
Okay, I think maybe you need to check some. Do you have good coverage? Internet بتاعك كويس.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Something, maybe it's from the headphones.
I don't know, but for me the connection is okay.
Yeah, تو نسمع فيك باهي مرات من الهيدفونز.
Okay, كويس. فكنت نقول لك the only difference is with the continuous you're emphasizing duration, you're emphasizing time. In the present perfect simple you're not focusing too much on time. تركيز مش على الوقت هلا مش على الاكشن اكتر وخلاص. هي هذه الفكره. It's not a big difference, it's a small one. That's why it's so small that they told you here you can do them both in this, and it's not even that different. يعني تقدر تديرهم بنفس الطريقه. يعني تقدر تقول I've lived here for 5 years ولا تقدر تقول I've been living here for 5 years. There isn't much difference. All right? Okay, so let's move on. So this part we did it, positive and negative. مفيش داعي now do. I think it's clear. I just want you to check the tips. Start from here. The tips. We often. Can you read this, please?
Which one?
Here, the first tip.
Yeah, we often use the present perfect continuous to talk about the activity we have been doing. I've been doing my homework. We don't. Okay. The second one, we often use the present perfect simple to say, I have done my homework. The homework is finished now.
Okay. So you can also use it for finished actions. I've done my homework. So this means it's over, right?
Okay.
Okay. What about the last 2 points?
Yeah.
I think the last 2 points are.
And how many?
Yeah, I'll repeat it. They're the same from the lesson, right? So for how long, it's better to use the present perfect continuous. And for
we use
and for how many?
How many present perfect simple?
Right. So there's nothing new here. Okay, let's check if we have any other tips. But I think that's all. Okay, this is the question. Can you see the right side? آخر جزء عنا. Yeah. Can you see the right side on the top? Questions with how long, how many? When you did these questions, do you remember?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you read the tip? Just a tip, please.
We can also make questions with the present and perfect simple and how much plus now. For example, how much money have you spent so far?
All right. So here the idea is you can also use how much. How long is better for present perfect continuous, and how many is better for present perfect simple. So how many countries have you been to? How many books have you finished? How many exercises have you done?
Simple.
Yeah, this is the present perfect simple. Okay, so this means we're done for today, but let me check very quickly to see if there is anything we might want to discuss next time. The workbook, like I said, I couldn't find another better copy than the one I sent you. We're trying to figure out a solution for this. Maybe we can get you a book, I don't know, but there is a one homework I'd like you to do. Can you see number 6?
Okay.
Just number 6, exercise 6 only. This one. Can you see it in front of you? Because here you have to decide whether to use present perfect simple or present perfect continuous. So it's sort of up to you, and you're going to tell me why you used each one after that. Okay?
Okay.
So this is your only homework, and I'll see you next lesson. So what time is it now? This means your next lesson is Monday. All right?
Okay.
Okay, then thanks for your time, and I'll see you next time. Have a good day.
Assalamu alaikum.
Bye bye.